Hello everyone, welcome to HFY Beyond Terror. This channel is all about HFY and sci-fi stories, where humanity's underestimated and then proves...
Fleet Command, this is Academy Outpost Delta 9 code Apex. Repeat, Apex. Commander Rexel's four-jointed fingers jittered over the emergency console as his translator tried to keep up with the frantic rhythm of his clicks. 3 Korov juveniles are loose in Cadet Block 7. Standard containment is failing. Sedatives ineffective. Sonic repulsors ignored. Cadets are barricaded. He stopped mid-sentence. Even through the insulated bulkheads, the screams. Carried. By the cold stars, he whispered. They breached another room. Korov Young didn't escape. Not ever. Their species sat at the top of every known food chain, a living argument against complacency. And these weren't ordinary juveniles either. These were the visiting offspring of Empress Sereth, brought for a diplomatic cultural exchange that had felt like a political gamble even on the best day. Now Delta 9 had become a playpen. With knives, a crackle of comms cut through the chaos. Security Team 4 is down. Repeat, Team 4 down. No fatalities yet. They're treating our riot shields like toys, Commander. Like toys. Rexel snapped open the corridor feeds. 3 glossy midnight-scaled bodies moved with terrifying coordination, 6 legs each, low and silent. Their claw marks furrowed the alloy walls. Personal effects littered the floor in a trail of vandalism. Uniforms shredded, lockers peeled open, datapads dragged away like trophies. They're practicing, Rexel breathed. They're not feeding, they're learning. Commander. Fleet Command barked over the channel. You are not authorized to escalate to lethal force. What? They've injured. Those juveniles belong to the Empress. Harm them, and you don't just lose your post, you light a match in 3 sectors. Hold. Contain. De-escalate. Rexel stared at the feed, watching one juvenile tilt its head as if considering a pounce, then casually shove a shield into a wall for the sound. We've already exhausted every non-lethal protocol, he said, voice thin. What do you want me to do? Ask them politely. Then the barracks door sighed open, and a human walked in pushing a mop bucket. She wasn't armored. She wasn't a handler. She wasn't even moving quickly. Maintenance coveralls. Hair tied back in a loose knot. A single earbud in one ear. The human's ID tag read, Mina Rias. Facilities Rexel's throat sacs tightened. Human, he shouted into every speaker he could reach. Evacuate. Code Apex. Evacuate immediately. Mina paused, pulled out her earbud, and looked around like she'd wandered into the wrong hallway. What's with the alarms? She asked, peering at the scattered belongings. I got a work order for Block 7. Says major mess. Urgent, which yeah, that tracks. Behind her, the shadows moved. All 3 juveniles slid into view waist-high compared to the human, but built like compact engines. Their dorsal ridges lifted. Their mandibles clicked in a rhythm that made every non-human nerve in Rexel's body scream run. Mina Reyes, Rexel pleaded, do not move. Mina turned, saw them, blinked once, and said, with the calm of someone spotting raccoons near a dumpster, oh, hey. The juveniles tightened their circle. Perfect spacing. Packed geometry. A textbook hunt. Mina looked from their claws to the mess, then back to them. Okay, she said, voice sharpening, still quiet, but suddenly edged. Which one of you thought it was a great idea to pull everybody's stuff out and throw it everywhere? Rexel felt his brain snag on the words. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't fleeing. She wasn't posturing. She was scolding. One? Juvenile had a cadet's dress jacket snagged over its ridge like a cape. Mina stared at it a long moment, one hand on her hip. She made a single short sound, half throat clearing, half don't you dare. The juveniles didn't hesitate. They froze, not stopped. not paused. Frozen in place like their bodies. Had suddenly forgotten how to move, mandibles silent. 18 eyes locked on the human. Rexel's comms exploded. What did she deploy? Fleet Command demanded. Nothing, Rexel croaked. She made a sound. That's impossible. It's currently happening, sir. On screen, Mina's expression changed into something Rexel had no cultural file for an ancient, universal look that somehow implied disappointment, consequences, and paperwork. Did you, Mina said slowly, steal from these cadets? The juvenile with the jacket lowered its ridge by a fraction. Rexel swallowed hard. A new channel opened. A reptilian face flickered into existence. Dr. Sale Vaughn, Xenopredator. Specialist. Commander, she said, voice tight, I'm reviewing live feeds. I don't understand what I'm seeing. Korov juveniles have a neurological compulsion to complete a stalk once initiated. They can't stop mid-cycle. Then explain the last 30 seconds, Rexel whispered. Mina crouched, bringing herself eye level with Apex. Predators, like every manual, explicitly forbade. Listen, she said, tone steady. I don't know what your species rules are, but I know bad behavior when I see it. This is stealing and making a mess. That's two things. One juvenile chirped softly. The station translator stuttered, couldn't find a match, and gave up. Dr. Vaughn's pupils narrowed. That vocalization isn't in our database. It's a sorry sound, Mina said matter-of-factly. Or at least a I got caught sound. I've heard it before. Where? Dr. Vaughn asked faintly. Have you heard that before? Mina didn't answer. She pointed at the floor. You three sit. Right there. The juveniles looked at each other. Actually looked. Then shuffled into a neat row and sat down. Rexel's legs went weak. She just put them in. Awaiting. Posture, he whispered. Fleet Command silence was the kind that meant an entire bureaucracy was breaking in real time. The door slammed open again. Master Handler Brock Kane strode in towering, armored, with a dominance rig strapped to his torso. Stand aside, human, he boomed, inflating his throat sacs and releasing pheromones calibrated for predator submission. I am the Alpha. You will. The juveniles glanced at him, briefly, like someone acknowledging a loud advertisement. Then their eyes snapped back to Mina. Brock tried again, louder, angrier, adding a roar that rattled the overhead panels. The juveniles didn't flinch. Mina sighed without looking away from the row. Yeah, she said, that's not helping. Brock's dominance rig wheezed as it deflated. How? He demanded. Are you doing this? Doing what? Mina asked, genuinely confused. They're bored kids acting out. You don't fix that by screaming at them. A new hologram sparked into view Professor Jal Taran, author of The Predatory Cortex. Why Karov Cannot Comply. What you're witnessing violates established neurobiology, the professor said, voice trembling with offended certainty. Korov cannot form compliant bonds outside direct kin structure. Their neural architecture prevents. Mina finally glanced up toward the comm panel. Professor, she said, polite but firm, if they can coordinate together, they can. Socialize. If they can socialize, they can learn. If they can learn, then your impossible is just nobody tried it like this. The professor blinked all three eyes, as if restarting. Somewhere on the command deck, Vice Admiral Vedra Kellen arrived, arms folded in the Tverian gesture of severe displeasure. Commander Rexel, she said, voice like a blade, I am authorizing lethal escalation if containment fails. Mina lifted a hand. Ma'am? Hi. She gave a small wave like she was answering a customer service. Call. Before anybody shoots anything, did you try asking them to give the stuff back? Every channel went dead quiet. Did the Admiral said slowly. You just suggest negotiating with apex predators? Mina frowned. I mean, they're right there, listening. You're acting like communication is illegal. She turned back to the juveniles, arms crossed. Okay, last chance. You can return the stuff, or I call your mom. And I'm pretty sure your mom is scarier than I am. One juvenile made a sound that somehow translated in everyone's bones as, no, please don't. Mina pointed at the jacket on the ridge. Start with that. The lead juvenile stood, carefully removed the cadet jacket, and placed it at Mina's feet. Mina's whole posture softened instantly. Good. Thank you. She reached out slowly, palm low, non-threatening. The station, filled with overlapping shouts. Don't. The juvenile leaned forward, sniffed, then pressed its snout into her hand and leaned into the touch like it had been waiting for permission its entire life. Mina scratched gently along the ridge. Base, the juvenile's eyes half-lidded. A low rumble vibrated through the floor contentment, unmistakable. Rexel stared at the feed as if it might start making sense if he stared hard enough. They're responding to positive reinforcement, Dr. Vaughn whispered, horrified and fascinated. We said they couldn't. Maybe, Mina said cheerfully. You just weren't very nice about it. The other two juveniles scrambled to bring stolen items, data pads, belts, dropping them neatly at Mina's feet, like eager dogs presenting sticks. Good job, Mina said. That's the correct choice, see? Easy? 12 minutes later, she walked them back toward the diplomatic suite. They followed in a tidy line, chirping softly, bumping her leg like overgrown cats. When Empress Sereth arrived warship docked, weapons hot, guards in ceremonial battle armor, she stormed into the suite prepared to find blood. Instead, she found her offspring rolling on the floor, trying to climb into Mina's lap, competing for scratches. The Empress stopped so abruptly, her escort nearly collided with her. Her translator struggled to keep up with the silence that followed. You, the Empress said at last, staring at Mina, corrected my children. Mina stood, dusted off her knees. Yep. They made a mess and stole stuff. We talked. They gave it back. Now we're going to get them some enrichment activities so they don't redecorate the barracks again. The Empress stared at her cubs healthy, calm, bright-eyed. Then she exhaled. Long and slow, and the entire station realized they had survived a war by the width of a mop handle. 3 days later, Commander Rexel scrolled through the updated emergency manual. 17 new entries. Human consultation required before escalation predator incident response. Behavioral anomalies. Containment protocol review. Diplomacy risk. Every section ended with the same dry addendum. If a human says it's basic, assume your entire field is missing something. Rexel found Mina in corridor 12B, humming out of tune as she pushed her cart. A small container labeled treats. Approved was strapped to the side with a bungee cord. Right on cue, 3 juvenile Korov rounded the corner at full speed, then skidded to a stop in front of her like guilty toddlers. There you are, Mina said, reaching into the container. Your mom said these are okay. She tossed each. A crystallized protein chunk. They caught them midair and chirped in unison. Rexel watched, hollow and awed. We offered her a consultant role, the Admiral said quietly beside him. Private quarters, research team, security detail. And? She said it sounded like paperwork. She preferred mopping. Rexel's translator failed to find a word for the emotion he felt. Somewhere far above, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session titled Human Practices, Threat, Tool, or Tactical Miracle? And down here, Mina Rias Facilities was checking work orders, restocking paper towels, and casually rewriting. the galaxy's understanding of apex predators as if it were just another shift. Commander Rexel typed the final line of his report with shaking hands. Recommendation: never underestimate human common sense. It is, apparently, a classified weapon.